I always had kind of nagging in the back of my head this terrible thought that if there's one thing that could sync everything and that could keep this game from happening, it was going to be the character art. When I first started this project, I didn't know much about anything to do with game dev, but I was pretty confident I could learn it. I knew I could learn the coding, I could learn music recording. I'd even done some concept art for Village, so I was pretty sure I could do the environment designs. But characters, if there's one thing that could ruin this whole thing, it was definitely going to be character animations. I did a video a while back about how I learned to use reference pictures and some other simple techniques to create character poses that looked half decent. This isn't that video. What I want to explore here is how I learned to take those lifeless still images and make them feel like they were actually a living, breathing part of the video game world. I should note my huge debt to Adam C. YOUNIS. The man is a legend. For a while I was pretty much just straight up copying his technique, but eventually I found myself becoming more and more comfortable with the concepts and was eventually able to use them on my own. Alright, with that out of the way, let's take a look at how I've learned to animate my characters. I think the first big mistake I made when I started animating players was that I would start with a still pose and then imagine what the next frame of his motion would look like. I'd sketch it out, then imagine the next pose, and so on. Now, none of these looked terrible, and some even looked pretty good. When I put them together, the game just didn't feel quite right. Additionally, each frame took a long time to draw from scratch, and it was onerous to make even just a little alteration if I wanted to move an arm a little or extend an elbow out one way. Now, I start by sketching out individual body parts for all the frames of animation. If I can figure out how the head moves as the player runs, then I can infer the movements of the other body parts because they're all connected. Once I get the head, I can move the other extremities. I can get the arms moving in opposition to one another. Then, I can add the lower legs, getting a feel for how the head jerks upward as the feet push down into the earth. Once I have the head and outer limbs, it's really just a matter of connecting the dots for the other body parts. One of the beautiful things about this method is that at any time I can stop and import these frames into Unity to see how they look. I don't even have to have all the limbs sketched out, and I can see how it looks when I put them in motion. Then I can pop back into Photoshop and add more body parts. If there's something I don't like along the way, I can easily make that adjustment as I'm just deleting a single colored line and replacing it, which takes seconds, as opposed to redrawing an entire section of the body like I had to do before. Once I have the animation looking more or less right, I can start the fun part. I already have some head poses from other animations, so I just pop those in, which looks pretty awesome. And then I can start painting. For someone like me, to whom character art does not come naturally, this part's actually easy now. I just have to paint in the outlines of the shapes I made, fill with skin tone, and then add some shading. I realize this is not exactly revolutionary, and my animations aren't like groundbreaking stuff. But for me, discovering a couple of little tips has helped me to move from a 3-frame jump animation to an 8-frame animation, just because I can do it so much more quickly, and it looks so much better as a result. So I hope exploring how I do my animations is helpful for you, and perhaps gives you a little insight into your own practice. Until next time, thanks so much for watching. This is Matt with Night Run Studio. Cheers.